Okay.
Welcome, everyone, to the Culinary Now podcast. My name is Matt Britt.
And I'm Jamie Schick.
And Jamie, it's summer. We're here.
It is. Oh
We
my gosh, the weather is beautiful.
finally made it to the good time. And so
Yes.
I'm thinking summer. I'm going to one tonight. Summer barbecue on the brain.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this. I feel there are a lot of outlying questions or just items to talk about on how to barbecue right. So this episode is all about barbecue etiquette. Hosting,
Yes.
guesting, everything in between. So
And
we're gonna
people might not all call them barbecues. They could call it a potluck or a cookout. So
look out.
anything,
Yeah, yeah.
however, whatever you name it in that category.
The one I'm going to tonight, block party. Also another name
Oh,
for a barbecue.
yes.
So kicking it off, we all know the barbecue generally centers around one piece of equipment, the grill.
The grill.
And
Yep.
in my incredibly detailed, in-depth, not just this morning research, I found a list of 7 items you are supposedly not supposed to grill. And
Hmm.
I'll tell you, some of these on the surface make sense. Some of them we're going to debunk pretty easy. But we're going to go through and we're going to hopefully prove to everyone listening that these 7 items not only belong on the grill, but are better if you do use this piece of equipment. And we're not going to get too nerdy on whether it's charcoal or gas or smoke. We're going to just say grill, right? So any type of grill, and hopefully we'll be able to use whatever version you have to really debunk these 7 items that apparently you can't put. Jamie, are you ready?
Oh, I am so ready. You really built this up. I'm excited to see what these 7 items are.
Again, this is months of research. Months of research.
Yes,
So
of course.
the first one is just bullshit. I mean, I will call bullshit immediately on this because it's pork chops. And I understand why this is on the list. Because I think that anyone who goes to the store, buys a pack of pork chops, bone in, boneless, whatever you get, just throws them on the grill, maybe a little seasoning, a light marinade, they are destined for doom, right? Because pork chops, being very lean, do
Mm-hmm.
tend to dry out very quickly. But I feel like this is BS because if you do pork chops right, they are not only good on the grill, they are better than anything else because you're able to leverage so many different things: char, smoke, that right level of bitterness that I know you and I both love. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to tell me if you agree with this because I'm not sure. But I think the true secret to doing pork chops right on the grill is you just got to get them a day in advance and brine them. And
Yeah,
if you
I would agree.
if you brine the chops, you honestly can almost do no harm on the grill. They're going to stay nice and juicy on the inside. They're going to get that beautiful crust on the outside. Now, my question to you is: does it matter if you do bone in or boneless? What do you recommend for those listening if they are going to go down the rabbit hole of figuring out a good brine, brining the pork chops, taking the time to do it? What kind of pork are they choosing? What do you think?
You're asking the pastry chef. Okay, so
You told me you repeatedly say that you can cook, so
I
I'm
can.
calling your bluff on
I
this.
can. No, I can cook.
I know you can.
I'm not a huge pork chop cooker. So and growing up I had them very few ways. They were mainly smothered in like creamed corn. So I guess from what I have learned being married to a chef and cooking myself, I always hear that cooking things on the bone does help to retain moisture
Mm.
and it does provide some flavor. So I would lean that way, but then I think I'm thinking this all out live here. So then I
Love it. I
think
love it. This is as real as it gets.
brine and I'm like, okay, you could probably brine it on the bone because you can brine like a whole turkey, a whole chicken, whatever. But does having a bone negate a cookout barbecue like ease of eating situation?
Oh, okay. So and I'm sure that you're gonna get me back down the road with some sort of pastry question that's gonna make me look like a moron. So I'm excited that you were able to
No, come
answer
on. I
that.
had to have just said some really smart stuff there.
So Here's my thought on all this. So I would agree with you on the premise that a bone does add flavor, right? I think that cooking meat on the bone is more pure, and it just does build sort of internal base notes that you can't get from a boneless chop without, like, just say a marinade that would help improve flavor. From a moisture retention standpoint, you're also correct. And what it does is cooking meat on the bone actually prevents it from losing more yield, right? Meat on the bone tends to maintain its shape more, and it tends to maintain its size, right? So you have less shrinkage, if you will. And you
Hmm.
can maintain the integrity of the piece of meat because the bone is really there holding it together. Now, that's a different question, or you brought up a different point on whether bone in meat is appropriate for like the barbecue setting, which perhaps you're
Right.
eating on a paper plate, standing up.
With
It all
plastic
depends.
silverware.
So it all depends on your comfort zone. A pork chop, maybe you go boneless, but then again, are you still have to cut a boneless piece of meat with a knife? The bone, and this is a little bit primal, but could serve almost as like a handle. So
Yep.
if you were doing something maybe a little bit on the smaller side, protein wise, lamb chops, etc., the bone actually could be a benefit to the barbecue. So I think we've
Hmm.
kind of proven that pork chops brined, which I would say the general rule on pork brines is 10% salt to the amount of water. I would caution listeners that that's a little heavy. Although, if you're only brining for a short period of time because you just can't wait to get them on the grill, then maybe a 10% solution would work. But if you're going to be brining for a long time, maybe cut that down to 7, 8%, just because it can be overly, salty. And when you brine things for too long, for anyone who's made this mistake, it becomes kind of hammy. And you want to avoid that texture of the ham, but you want to get the moisture benefits of brining.
Mm,
So pork chops
I
on the
like it.
grill, brined. You choose the bone. You choose boneless. Still think about marinades, salt, pepper, of course, and then don't overcook it. Right? Pork chops
Oh,
only need to be
totally.
to about 140, 145 degrees legally. But I would say if you pull them off at 135, they'll carry over and they'll be that beautiful, just north of medium, and they'll be really, really nice. So go with pork chops.
Before we move on to our next thing, one other thing I want to say is you said don't overcook them. Don't overcook any of your meat on the grill. Like don't overcook your chicken breasts or anything because it can all just dry out so fast. So not just pork chops. Let's take that as a general rule.
I would totally agree with that, and this is sort of a nice segue. Like invest in a good thermometer, something that is instant
Hmm.
read and is accurate and doesn't have to be calibrated every time. You want something that's going to give you a little bit of peace of mind on that. So speaking of peace of mind, the next item probably scares the bejesus out of anyone listening because why would you ever do this? But I think we can make an argument that greens, and I'm talking about
Hmm.
salad greens do belong on the grill, right? I get that,
Yes,
they're delicate and they're light. And, we always preach at culinary school keep salad greens cool, wash them and rinse them under cool running water, handle them like a baby. But there are greens that do lend themselves to high heat cookery. And I
totally.
think it can really elevate your game. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. You're talking, I'm thinking romaine, I'm
Oh, yeah.
thinking like chard, I'm thinking even like dinosaur kale like would be
Hmm.
great. Like some of those hardier greens for sure, delicious. Like a
Yeah.
grilled romaine Caesar, so good.
It's I'm happy you brought up the Caesar thing because I think that with a dish that has so much other competing flavors, you have anchovy and garlic and like you have these really pronounced flavors. The lettuce can get lost, right? So by doing a
Mhm.
really light grill on it, you might be able to get just that right level of bitterness to kind of complement the salad. Plus, it's a conversation piece. Whenever you bring a grilled salad to a menu or to a barbecue or a potluck or to a block party, people are going to look at you like you have two heads. And that's okay because then when they eat it, they'll realize that two heads is better than one.
Especially if you serve let's just use Caesar because we're talking about it. If you serve it warm, they're not going to expect it, but it's going to bring a whole nother layer of flavor to that dressing because you're going to add some heat to release some of the aromatics from like the garlic, from any black pepper you have on there. It might slightly melt the cheese. So I think having a warm Caesar in this case, one, great for flavor, but two, serve it warm, people aren't going to expect it. It's going to blow their minds.
I mean, and at its core, Caesar dressing is basically mayonnaise. It's a permanent emulsion, and I think people equate warm mayonnaise as being gross, but when done right, warm mayonnaise, especially in the right setting, can be actually really quite delicious. So
I'm
the
not
next
against warm
one,
mayonnaise.
I'm neither. I'm pro, but at the right way, like warm
Right, right, right. Yes,
tuna
yes.
fish salad, maybe not, but on a patty
Well,
melt,
that's
maybe.
a tuna melt. A tuna melt.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I can back myself into being wrong anytime. So the next one is something that I could see why you wouldn't do it because it is very delicate. It's tomatoes. But what I would ask you, Jamie, is there a way to do tomatoes on the grill without having them completely turn to water?
Yeah, totally. It's called a pizza.
Okay, that has bread in between the tomatoes and the grill, but pizza's not on this list because it should never be. Grilled pizza is delicious. I would say if you're gonna cook tomatoes, and this is where I'm gonna lump in a couple others on this list as well, which is peeled shrimp and flaky fish. These
Whoa,
are
whoa.
things.
I definitely don't agree with those two.
Well, but hear me out here. So I think that on the surface, you could make a really strong argument that like cod or sliced tomatoes probably are better served being cooked in other fashions. But any grill, you can buy like a little basket, right? It has holes and it has little slits in it.
Mhm.
And if you do something like this, sometimes there are like wire racks that are enclosed. You can
Yep.
actually put really delicate proteins or vegetables, in the case of tomatoes, into these vessels on the grill, and you're just sautéing in this, but you're getting all that sort of radiant heat from the grill and all that flavor, especially if you're using charcoal. I know I said I wouldn't go into that, but if you're using something that adds flavor from the heat source, being able to kind of leverage another technique, albeit sort of sauteing over open flame, it does provide just a little bit of a barrier to protect those proteins. You could also cook tomatoes whole on the grill too, and they're delicious.
Oh, yeah. No, I was actually thinking you could slice them really thick and just do a quick hot sear on both sides and not and I wouldn't do super ripe ones. Maybe they have to be a little bit firm. But also, what about a cedar plank for fish? And what
Yeah.
about when people do like shrimp kebabs? Those are just like on a skewer. So I think there's other options of ways to cook those two fish proteins.
I think, and this goes back to your comment earlier about not overcooking. So if we're talking about shrimp, yes, I agree. The kebab is the perfect vehicle for everything. It's great. You can cook ground meat on it and just skewer it, and it's perfect. It's been happening for centuries. But
Yes.
let's not forget that the grill, at its core, and I know all grills, or at least all gas grills, have knobs where you can theoretically control the temperature to like a very low temperature. Grilling at its core is a very high heat cooking medium. So if you're dealing with something like peeled shrimp, okay, they don't have the shell to protect them. You're marinating them and you're getting that grill screaming hot, and you're just cooking those shrimp very quickly on each side. And peeled shrimp, even the bigger ones, they don't take a long time to cook. So you
Right.
can leverage that high heat, that char, that beautiful mark, but you just have to know when to pull them out. And don't be afraid to pull out items off the grill when they're a little bit under if you want to maybe finish them in the oven, okay? That's an okay thing. I think about tomatoes. You talk about just cutting them in half and grilling them, even if they're a little underripe. Do that first and then put those grilled tomatoes into a tomato sauce. You're going to add a
Mhm.
layer of flavor that was never there before and you could not get by just cooking on the stovetop. So it's a pretty good idea to, even if something's delicate, try and figure out a way to get that grill to really leverage and build on flavor. Cedar plank is a great one. It's another barrier,
Mhm.
right? It's another barrier between the grill and the protein, but it adds flavor along the way.
Yeah. Man, this we should have recorded this after lunch cuz now I'm hungry.
I am. So the next one, and we have two left here. Bacon. This is
Huh.
might be one that I agree with, but
I think I
talking
do too. That To me, that sounds like a grease fire waiting to happen.
Does sound like a grease fire waiting to happen. Very difficult. But again, if you were, I feel like if you, I've seen rashers and like sort of European style bacon cooked on a grill, more in a grill pan, but I could see how flavor wise it would take it next level, but you just have to be really careful about that to make sure that you're right. The grease is not catching on fire. Um,
If you're gonna go grill pan or griddle pan on a grill, then it's like, what's the
it's
point?
what's
You're just cooking. It's like the
well,
grill
so
is
so maybe bacon fits this thing, but the next one, the last one, is something where I feel like you can use a sort of a medium cooking platform, like a pan or whatever, and you can use the grill to again build on your flavor. And this is tofu. So on the surface,
hmm,
yes, certain tofu, silken tofu, no chance, right? It's not even touching the
but like
grill.
firm pressed.
Firm pressed tofu, I
Yeah.
think you could probably get away with it, right? And if you, so like the grill I have, it's a gas grill, but I have a little like smoker box, right, where I can put wood chips and then put it
Ooh.
off to the side, and it will be somewhat kind of indirect infusion of flavor. And smoked tofu is
Hmm.
fantastic if you can really treat the protein right, nice and cool, get those beautiful grill marks, and then lightly smoke it on the grill. You cool that down afterwards, and then you slice it almost like cheddar cheese style, and you can use that as a plant based alternative to, let's say, cheese on a sandwich.
Hmm.
It's kind of a nice way
Interesting.
to sort of lighten it up and give a little bit more health benefits. It's
I
out
could also
there,
see
but
that. I could also see that with like barbecue sauce though, in like a faux like barbecue meat situation. If you smoke it a little bit, that actually I like tofu. That actually sounds pretty good.
so basically, 6 of the 7 items totally belong in the grill. Bacon, keep the fire department at bay. Probably cook that on the stovetop or in the oven if you want to get them all nice and flat. But yeah, pork chops, greens, tomatoes, tofu, peeled shrimp, flaky fish. Get a good grill, maybe a cedar plank, and you're off to the races.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier that we are going to, well, my family and I are going to a block party tonight. And on the flyer for the block party, this is your favorite thing in the world, I know, it said the word potluck, which
Mm.
is, for those listening who maybe don't know, which is, I feel like everyone knows what a potluck is. It's essentially every person brings one thing to the party in the theory that it brings this comprehensive dining experience to the party. So you're going to a
hmm
potluck. It's theoretical for you, Jamie. What do you bring? Cold, hot, sweet, savory, fancy, simple.
It stresses me out so much. I never know what to bring because being a pastry chef, and maybe you feel this way too, being a chef, I always feel like I have to bring dessert. It's expected. I have to bring dessert.
Hmm.
But I never know what to bring because I always want to bring something that would be really interesting to me, which isn't necessarily the usual like cookies or brownies. I would want to bring something a little bit more complex, but then are people going to like it or not like it because it got too weird? And so what I usually default to is usually a salad of some kind, a slaw of some kind is usually my default, but I think it's expected I'm bringing sweet. So I never know. It always stresses me out so much, potlucks.
No, I mean it's a good point because how do you? So we're diving into the sort of the minutia here, but like if there's an expectation, if you're going to a potluck where everyone knows you and they know what you do for a living, how do you escape that expectation of bringing something, you know, within your wheelhouse? Like a good example, if you came to a potluck, I almost expect you to bring donuts because that's like you're like the best at donuts. But if you didn't, like it would throw me off a little bit, but I would be interested in it. I don't know if everyone else would, but it would be really interesting. You talked about kind of like knowing what you do best versus something seasonal, and you said the word salad, and ultimately we landed on bringing like a nice spring strawberry salad because I think it differs from what the normal potluck things are. The coleslaws of the world, the potato salads of the world, the dips, and it's just something that's light and fresh. You know, One of the things that kind of drives me bananas a little bit if you're hosting a potluck or a get together or a barbecue and you don't do this. It seems crazy. But people that host barbecues and don't kind of try and coordinate what people are
Oh,
bringing,
yeah. Yep.
you know, if you ever showed up to a barbecue or a potluck and there's been three different versions of the same dish, have a little organization there. Kind of get a Google Doc going, a Facebook thread or whatever, and and
Except
and
you
see what.
need people to participate and to actually read it, because some people won't read it, won't participate. They're just going to bring what they're going to bring, and you're going to end up with 40 bags of potato chips and nothing to dip them in, because no one's going to read. This has happened. This has happened to me recently, where there was a sign up sheet and people signed up, but some people just decided they were going to bring what they wanted to bring, and we ended up with multiples of the same thing. And it was varying levels. One person brought a very high end version of it, and the other person brought a very pre-made version of it, and
Mhm.
obviously the higher end version went because it looked nicer. But it's also, you got to get people to see. This is where I'm like, I get frustrated. You got to get people to do the work so that you have a nice spread.
So is it overly ambitious? And I mean, I guess you could say, is it rude to almost assign people? Because inevitably, when you invite someone to a barbecue or a potluck and you don't have the sign up sheet, what does someone say to you? They're like, what can I bring? Right. So for
Yep.
me, being a cook, like I want to control everything. Right. And I don't want kind of that shitty version of potato salad, even though I would be happy if someone brought it. I'd rather just make it, right? And I'm not saying that mine is not shitty. It very well could be, but at least I'm in control of that. So when I, inevitably get asked, what can you bring? I always say like beer or wine because I feel like that's something that's
Hmm.
personal to that person. They might want something specific to drink. But is it overly audacious or rude to say, you know what? No, I want a side, or I need a dessert. Is it? Can you assign dishes and not be kind of that person?
I I mean, I guess you could. It depends on your audience. Do you know these people well or not? Like, if you know them well, because you could be like, hey, can you pick up this, this, and this? If you don't know them well, I think it's weird. But you said dessert. I want to talk about that. What
Okay.
I want to talk about, what is, I know I said I get stressed out and I always feel like I have to bring something, but from your perspective, what do you think is I don't want to use the word perfect, but ideal dessert for a barbecue?
So I think if we're talking, you're bringing it and you're putting it on the table, you have to stay away from super temperature sensitive items.
Yes, I
So
agree.
ice creams, things like that, popsicles. I know that sounds like a weird thing, but I have seen that. Avoiding that, because they're gonna degrade in quality. They're gonna lose that sort of pristine moment, especially
Totally.
if it's in the summer and it's hot. I think grab and go works, right? Even though that gives me anxiety as a parent to see like a platter of chocolate chip cookies just out, knowing that my kids are going to eat 10,000 of them. I think that's kind of what people like is they
They're
like
looking for,
something
like,
that,
cookies and brownies and, like, nibbles? Yeah,
yeah, and eat and like, not feel like they're stuffing their face with like a big piece of cake or something. But I mean, yeah, brownies, cookies, that would be my go-to, but this
mm.
is where I'm clearly outside my comfort zone. So what do you think is the best dessert to bring?
Well, for me, I think of barbecue and cookout food, it can be a little heavy, so I think a lemon bar would be really nice, or a berry crumb
Also handheld.
bar. Yes, exactly, or a berry crumb bar could be really nice because it's a little fruity, but I feel like those I would want some ice cream with, so then we're getting into that temperature situation. Yeah, so I'm also a more fruity dessert person just in general. So
Hmm.
I tend to go towards things that are more fruit based, and I also think a really well done fruit salad would be really really nice. But I mean, we speaking of grilling, I also really enjoy grilled pineapple.
Or
And
peaches.
yeah, exactly, grilled stone fruit, wonderful. And with a drizzle of like honey, some sprinkled nuts, some salt, can be really beautiful on its own. And there's no temperature. Yes, would yogurt or ice cream or whipped cream be delicious on that too? Absolutely. But if you don't want to have it out because it's going to be hot and it's not going to survive, then on its own, I think it's
Mhm.
really, really good.
I like that tip about the honey though, because it's a sneaky way to get that sweetness that you would get from ice cream. Yes, it's not cold, but it could be that flavor contributor component. Um, you touch again. I want to talk about this a little bit because as chefs, our kitchens, and anyone who's listening as a chef probably has a kitchen that is full of any sort of catering need possible, right? So, in
Hmm.
theory, you are prepared to bring ice cream because you have something to keep it cold, or you maybe even have sort of an ISI container that you could put into an ice bucket and you could do whipped cream really at the ready, right? And not have to buy store bought ready whip type stuff, which is fine. But, you're prepared to do this. So, as a chef, do you ever feel kind of pretentious, or do you have to catch yourself and say like, you know what, Jamie, keep it simple today. I don't want to be that person who comes in with like an entire arsenal of stuff and you're setting up almost like you're catering the event. You were just asked to bring one thing. Do you ever have that feeling?
No, because because usually my audiences, they don't want that. And two, when I'm at home, I want the most simple versions of things that are delicious. And yeah, so no, I don't ever think I'm gonna bring my ISI with cream to do, like, on the spot whipped cream at a barbecue because I'm probably gonna have some adult beverages. I'm probably gonna wanna chill out and relax and talk to people, and or I'm helping the host with the other food that needs to get done because I'm very comfortable in the kitchen. So no, I don't, but now I'm wondering if you do. Do you
No,
bring your whole
no.
catering
I
box?
feel 25-year-old Matt would do that, and I feel like I'm in your camp now where I'll be asked to bring something and immediately the wheels are turning. It's like, what can I do that's going to really go over well? And, from whatever laws of deduction, I always land on something that's just, simple. And I mean, you mentioned fruit salad earlier. Like I'm doing a strawberry salad for the potluck tonight. It's it's simple in its core. It's got a little bit of like sort of finesse within it, but ultimately it's just a fruit salad and it's something that's going to be cool and refreshing and it's going to look really nice. And I'm not doing this intentionally to outshine anyone else, but you know, on a table where there's potato salad and brownies and cookies and queso dip, it's gonna pop. It's gonna look really refreshing, and I think that's it's kind of what people secretly need at those parties. They might want a burger and potato chips, but that little like sort of, especially parents or older people, that little like person on your shoulder is going to be like, "Don't have another cookie, eat some salad." And that's what they want. And like a grilled salad is also an interesting choice, and you could do that as well. You mentioned something though about um, you know being part of you're not supposed to be cooking at a barbecue that you're invited to, but inherently you're a chef and you might go to a party and there might be an expectation that you are going to cook. And I'm not sure if this translates as much to the pastry side as it does to
I
the
think
savory, but
I think I need to clarify, and this is
okay.
very different. I think we have very different social circles. The barbecues, cookouts that I go to are my family. So I am totally there to help them, like help my sister-in-law in the
Mhm.
kitchen with whatever she needs, help my parents. Like I'm very comfortable stepping in and helping. If I'm going to maybe a block party where maybe I'm new to the area and I don't know my neighbors that well or the people that are going to be there, I'm probably not going to push them out of the way and start helping. I might offer, introduce myself and say, "Hey, is there anything I can do to help?" But
Sure.
I don't have that social circle. So the people I go to, I'm very comfortable just being like, "Hey, let me get in there and help you shuck this corn or whatever." It's
So
not it's
so that's
not weird.
it's an important clarification, and now I can use you more as like a judge and jury type situation. Is is and I don't do this. Like, I do not go to a party and just push my way onto the grill. Like, I actually am very much like you. I don't want to cook at someone else's party. But are there instances where, clearly people are like hungry and no one lit the grill yet to cook the burgers? As a chef, I think maybe some others would agree that, you know, you kind of can read the room and you can say, hey, someone's going to light the grill. Now it goes to familiarity and do you know these people and are you comfortable, uncovering the grill and lighting it up? And if that's the case, then that's all well and good. But, is it, you know, is it okay? Like, let's flip the script here a little bit. Let's say that, okay, it's not family, but you're in a circle of people that know you cook for some sort of a living, and there's an expectation that you're going to cook. Is it okay to sort of decline? Like, how do you politely excuse yourself from the situation? Like, how do you kind of say, it's your show? Like, how do you do that? Is there a secret to that, or is that okay, or do you just have
Yes.
to
No, I
you have to
think I
suck it
think
up?
there is a secret. I think the secret
Okay.
is you position yourself away from the kitchen cooking area. So wherever the food is happening, you position yourself away, like the other side where you're not near, and therefore you can't get roped in, you can't see what's going on. It's not in your head. You engage in other conversation. So you're not aware and you let the host deal with it if you don't want to or you're not comfortable or it's a situation where you feel like you might but it's not the time for you to jump in. That's what I would do. I would just get away, get out of it, not have it be like something I'm watching and be like, "Ooh, they're doing that wrong and they're doing that wrong. Why haven't they done this yet?" Just get away, start something else. Like start a
No,
conversation, play a game, play
I
cornhole,
like
whatever.
I like that strategic positioning. So, like, if it's one of those parties where you're bringing a chair, because maybe it's just a big yard, position your chair away from anything that is associated with cooking might give you an option. Also, like, what you talked about earlier, offering to help at the beginning is a very courteous gesture. But then I think once you say it once, you're good. And if they don't
I
take
think
you
you're
up
good.
on it, then you're free and clear. You can go enjoy the party. Um, I like that. That's a really, really, really good tip. Okay, so just to kind of round this out, we talked about what desserts to bring, how to keep it simple. What are things that you expect to see at a barbecue, and if you didn't see them, would almost make the barbecue like a failure. It would almost be a bust. Like, what has to be there? Like, what do you expect?
Like food wise?
Sure. Or
Food
other.
wise. Oh, so like food wise, I expect there to be some type of grilled protein, probably hamburgers, hot dogs, barbecue chicken with barbecue sauce type of thing. Um,
Right.
Potato salad, coleslaw, maybe a green salad, maybe a broccoli salad, but some salads going on. And then chips, lots of potato chips and maybe corn on the cob. Usually heavy
Ooh.
starch. And then uh desserts of varying kinds depending on the audience. And then, a cooler of beverages, water, sparkling water, hard sparkling water,
No,
probably
I agree.
beers,
I think that those
ciders,
those
sodas,
those are the big things. You have to
and
hit
then probably
those.
some games, some yard games.
Ooh, yarn game. What is your
Even though I'm
favorite
not a
yarn
bi-
game?
okay, I was just about to say I'm not a big game player. I don't enjoy playing games of really any kind. But, cornhole every once in a while is fun.
I agree.
I know
I
that makes
agree.
me
You gotta
sound
have
that
a.
makes me sound really not fun. I I
I've
I'm
hung
just
out with you, Jim. You are fun. You are fun. But no, I agree
I'm
with
just
you.
not a big game person.
You need those, and again, it's probably one of the few instances where you can have an overabundance of starchy, unhealthy shit and still
Yes.
have it be successful. So if you're hosting a barbecue this summer, keep it simple, try and organize it, and make sure you hit those key components. Something grilled, some salads, something crunchy, chippy, dessert. Handheld is ideal. and then different coolers with different beverages. Just don't mix up the regular seltzer with the boozy seltzer because kids and all. But anyway, I think those are good tips, Jamie, and I think
They
it
are.
kind of
And
paints the sort of the page for I think what we're going to do this year is we're going to create a summer barbecue series where we bring
mhm.
in different experts to talk about those key components that you identified. Right, we need someone to speak more intelligently than us on barbecue. We need someone who crushes it on like the salad side, the crunchy side. What chips do you bring? Like there is better chips. And then of course the
Ooh.
dessert side, which you are an expert at, but we might bring in someone who can, just kind of bring a different viewpoint.
For sure, I have ideas on who we can bring in for that. I would also just add to your tips for a successful summer barbecue would be just to have fun. Like, don't overthink it. It's really just an opportunity to socialize and hang out with friends, family, people you don't see a lot, or meet new people, and just kind of relax. So, even though we have tips here, don't overthink it. Have fun. Everyone's gonna love it.
Yep. Happy grilling, everyone. Happy summer.
Happy summer.